It's a challenge for Mandiant. When we started the company, I had the phrase, let's respond to every breach that matters. No offense to those of you that had a breach and we didn't respond to it. I know it mattered to you, and it would have mattered to us if we had known about it. We want to be at the center and the front lines of the cybersecurity universe. In other words, when you hear about a major breach or you're reading about a major breach and it's a headline above the fold, I want to know that our people are there. So anytime I'm reading the newspapers and I go, hey, I want to know if we're there, I call Jürgen Kuchner, our head of services. Are we responding? What do we know about it? Right now, without a doubt, the front lines of the cybersecurity universe is in Ukraine. So with that in mind, we couldn't fly anybody from the Ukraine over here to present to you what they're learning in the most recent battle space that includes the cyber domain. But I did have the privilege of talking to Viktor Zhora, who is leading the national defense in the cyber domain for the nation of Ukraine, both in the government response as well as coordinating with international partners. So over the next 25 minutes, you're going to watch the video of me interviewing Viktor a few days ago. Thank you.
Viktor, thank you so much for joining us today.
Kevin, thank you so much for inviting me to talk.
Kind of focusing on pre-invasion, when you look at your team then, how large was your team prior to the invasion? Has it changed over the last few months?
Well, first of all, I should say that cyber aggression lasts for 8 years. So it started in 2014 with the attack on the Central Election Commission during presidential elections. And it later developed to a series of disruptive cyber attack, ending with the most destructive attack in history, NotPetya, in 2017. And it gave a start to building of a robust cybersecurity system in Ukraine. And SSCIP, which I represent, was an active participant of this process. So Ukraine was able, together with our partners, build a really serious cybersecurity capacity, was able to prepare a workforce for countering of cyber aggression and improve cooperation between agencies and our international partners. So we were getting ready to the war, understanding that it will happen. And I cannot name the exact number, but there were more than 100 of servants in the State Cyber Protection Center and dozens of people in the CERT UA team. And there was a number of initiatives related to development of our capacities, including the opening of UA30 Cybersecurity Center, which was done by the President Zelensky in May 2021.
So it sounds like, and everybody in cybersecurity is aware of all the different attacks you had to deal with from 2014 through 2021. And it seems like all of them got the Ukraine to be kind of resilient and aware in the first place. Maybe you can tell us, what started happening prior to the invasion. Did you feel a difference in the cyber domain, say February 23rd, the day before the invasion?
First of all, we were observing the situation in cyberspace, and according to statistics from CERT UA, the number of cyber incidents we recorded grew up to 10% per quarter all these years. But there was a serious incident happened on January 14th or January 13th by US time. So it was an attempt to hack Ukrainian government websites, and it was partially successful. So dozens of Ukrainian websites were defaced, and there was a first attempt to use wipers to erase, to destroy IT infrastructures in some of agencies. So that was a massive cyber attack, which we consider to be a first strike in the cyber war. It was later followed by a number of huge DDoS attacks on Ukrainian financial system and government websites. And again, on 23rd of February, there was a series of DDoS attacks and cyber attacks on Ukrainian government entities, which was later followed by an attack on satellite component from Viasat company that served for some Ukrainian customers. And the goal of this attack was to disrupt communication between Ukrainian armed forces and law enforcement and other customers, but it affected customers in other countries, including NATO countries. So it provided collateral damage to other customers of this network, not only Ukrainian. But with regards to Ukrainian side, we suppose it did not affect the overall coordination of armed forces, only to disruption of one component of this communication system. And then with the full-scale invasion, of course, the number of cyber incidents significantly grew, perhaps up to 3 times comparing to the same period of the previous year.
So it sounds to me like data wiping malware, distributed denial of service attacks. Was there a focus on, or did you feel or see a focus on trying to destroy critical infrastructure?
Of course, we were aware of potential focuses of our adversary. I mean, public sector, financial sector, media, telecom segment, and critical infrastructure. And all our concerns were confirmed, unfortunately. And even in the end of previous year, we had some meetings with the energy sector, and we made some practical steps to raise the level of protection of these networks. And it happened that the enemy really targeted critical infrastructure, including energy sector, in a way he did in 2015 and 2016 with attacks on the Ukrainian power grid.
Viktor, at any time, as you lived through 2015, 2016, all the different attacks from NotPetya and all these attacks that happened, was there ever a time where you felt like, hey, we're ready?
You cannot be ready for 100%, of course, because you don't know how the attacker will behave and during the attack, how well is he prepared to this attack. But we worked on improvement. We worked on strengthening of our capacities to counter these attacks, and obviously we are much more prepared in the beginning of 2022 instead of 2014. So I mean,
Right.
we took a lot of lessons from cyber aggression we lost for 8 years. And I think that is one of the reasons why the adversary haven't reached its strategic goals in cyber war against Ukraine up to the moment.
Because we do think you're on the front lines against Russia aggression every day. What sort of lessons did you learn in preparation for the invasion on February 24th? Would you pass on to other nations if they feel the same potential aggression coming at them? What would you recommend to, say, Taiwan in the situation they may be facing with China?
Well, I think every country, every partner will have their own scenario based on the level of preparedness to counter cyber aggression. But improvement of international cooperation, to my opinion, is the key to success, because cybersecurity is not only about people, process, and technology. It's mostly about collaboration and cooperation, exchange of information on threats, indicators of compromise, knowledge and experience transfer, joint exercises, and many other aspects which can improve incident response, time of reaction, and even prediction and prevention of cyber attacks. To my opinion, the scenario is simple. First of all, you should be focused on strengthening of your infrastructures, security hardening, and following the requirements from regulators. And to my opinion, businesses should be focused on security even with the absence of direct requirements or rules, because they will be obviously targeted or become potential targets for ransomware actors who are seeking for funding of their illegal activities. And the responsibility of businesses for carrying out cybersecurity issues and focusing on cybersecurity is really great. And this is the way of helping countries to be cyber resilient. I mean that public and private partnership in cybersecurity is crucial. And of course, from Ukrainian experience, I should say that the state will do everything to help businesses to be resilient, but businesses should be responsible for understanding, for following recommendations for securing of their infrastructures, and this is a bidirectional process. Next, we should understand that the person, the user, is the last point of making decisions. And he will be the final target after attempt on targeting the network or infrastructure isn't successful. So everybody should follow recommendations on cyber hygiene at work, at home, everywhere. Again, when we're talking about nation scale or country scale cyber attack, many of cybersecurity stakeholders will be involved, and the time of response and overall effectiveness of response is directly depends on the information exchange and coordination of actions between these cybersecurity agencies. This should be improved, and it's very important to have more visibility and timely visibility over processes and events in cyberspace that can be reached with international cooperation. So we discovered a lot of opportunities within first community that CERT-UA participates in, then from cooperation with global IT and cybersecurity providers, with partner agencies. So this is very important to have these close ties to be able to timely respond to evolving cyber threats.
It's great to hear in your role as the champion leading the resources and the international cooperation to defend the Ukrainian cyber, that Russia hasn't reached their goals in the cyber domain. One thing I'd be interested to hear is your perspective on the information operations or the disinformation campaigns that the Ukrainian people have had to withstand. Can you comment a little bit about the disinformation that Russia's doing and the influence operations that they're doing during this conflict?
First of all, I should confirm that this is a very dangerous way of activity, of fighting for minds of people. And this is the game in which Russia won on their territory. So we understand that not Kremlin is attacking Ukraine or trying to threaten the whole world. This is done, unfortunately, by by the whole society, the majority of Russians who support this policy of their government. And it was reached by total disinformation and propaganda in their media. And the same way of attacking humans' brains is used in other countries. So it isn't successful in Ukraine, by the way, because everybody understands the real nature of factions when people lose their homes or their loved ones in this unprovoked and unprecedented war. But in other countries, with other nations who don't feel this in such personal way as Ukrainians feel, this is a very dangerous. And I think that governments should take very active measures, countermeasures against this propaganda. And cyber offensive is one way of distributing of this propaganda. So I can subdivide all cyber attacks in Ukraine into three groups: intelligence, direct impact and destruction, and finally sowing of propaganda and disinformation. This is done also with a number of legal instruments through social media, through media under control. And I think that Ukraine effectively counters these attempts in our territory. But with regards to social media, with regards to other resources, I think completely new approaches should be developed to prevent the influence of this propaganda, to prevent subversion in our partner countries and our allies. Because I understand that this political, financial and military support is based on government's decision. And in case these actions are not supported by the people whose attitude is formed by media, our task and our following resistance should be rather complicated. So again, as we see, cybersecurity is a joint effort, and countering propaganda and disinformations is also joint policy and global policy. And I think that all the approaches we discovered here in Ukraine can be and should be shared with our partners to use it in the same way as we used in Ukraine.
You've maintained a team of professionals that have to respond to disinformation campaigns, attacks that happen every single day. How do you sustain your team's energy, and how do you sustain their motivation over time?
Welcome. Thank you. This is a really great question. And obviously, people feel great enthusiasm in the very beginning, hoping, expecting that this war will end soon. But now we have 7 months of war. We had great success of Ukrainian armed forces, and we're expecting for liberation of our territories. But unfortunately, I think it's too early for the moment to speak about the end of war. I really hope it will happen in the next year, and that means that we should keep our patience and keep our enthusiasm and my personal motivation. I understand that we have no chance to surrender, and my mission is much easier than the mission that our soldiers have on battlefield. And this motivates, and perhaps our team feel the same. So we are defending digital infrastructures, digital borders, And we can always think about those Ukrainians who are doing the same with arms in their hands in different conditions. And considering this, the example of people defending Azovstal or fighting in Kharkiv or Donetsk region. These examples are motivation for cyber defenders, and we don't have day offs from the beginning of war, but it makes us easier to understand the importance of what we do every day when we are able to quickly identify the threat and effectively combat the cyber attack, or when we have some successes in providing of quick incident response, and we understand that the services were not interrupted and the data wasn't stolen, wasn't deleted. So this all this, and understanding that we are on our land, our families and our people are standing behind us and together with us, and understanding that Ukraine is not alone in our fight for freedom. So we are joined with our friends, and we feel assistance and we feel support, again, in military and political and financial domains, and understanding that we are totally on good side and we fight with evil. This motivates, and this makes us stronger from day to day.
Well, Viktor, you went through the invasion February 24th, all the prep work the Russians did prior to that. Is there anything that surprised you in their playbook? Now that you can reflect and look back, what do you know now about the Russian capability that you didn't know maybe before the invasion?
Everybody is expected serious and severe actions taken by Russia, considering their extremely high potential in offensive cyber. But perhaps this is a surprise for us and for the community that, again, I would repeat, Russia hasn't reached its strategic goals in cyber offensive up to the moment. Even despite having a human resource and unlimited financial resource that was used to gain this potential in the years. There are different factors that can explain this situation, starting from our defensive actions, counter-offensive actions, and help from partners. But as far as I understand, the destructive nature of cyber offensive cannot be compared to this destructive threat that can be brought by a missile. So if an adversary has right to shell to hospitals, schools, and residential quarters, because this sophisticated cyber weapon will be not used comparing to conventional weapon. Okay. Again, one more thing that was surprise to us, but not with regards to Russian offensive potential, is volunteer help. So we were surprised how many people, how many organizations and partners join us in countering of this aggression in cyberspace. And there's a huge volunteer movement we call it cyber resistance. This is a totally new phenomenon for the world. I mean, IT Army of Ukraine and many groups of people from all around the world that somehow sublimate their skills, their energy, and their will to help Ukraine be resilient and stand in this aggression. Again, I think that the fact that Russian offensive specialists are busy with defending of their IT infrastructures is one of factors that significantly decrease their ability to attack Ukraine and other countries. And the fact that Ukraine isn't the only target makes this issue potentially actual for all of our partners. And again, I would rewind to the importance of international cooperation. And this doesn't mean that Russians are weak. We should not underscore their potential. They continue to be very dangerous, and I'm totally confident that they are using this time period for preparing for planning of new destructive cyber attack, which can affect not only Ukraine but our partners as well. And we see that list of countries that will be targeted or at least indicated as targets by KillNet or HackNet or other associated with Kremlin groups. And we need to be aware, and Ukraine wants to contribute to global cybersecurity ecosystem with experience and knowledge we gain from countering of this cyber aggression. We want to help our partners to be strong and to be protected in this aggression, which can be easily switched from Ukraine to other countries, because this is a war between good and evil, and this is the war between regime, Putin's regime and Kremlin, and the rest of the civilized world and democratic world. And we fight for not for only our independence, our right to exist, but for human rights, for democratic values, and for the rest of free world. And thankfully, we're not alone in this fight.
Well, Viktor, I appreciate you joining us. It's great to hear from you. We all wish you the best. And it's you gave me a theme for all cybersecurity practitioners. There's no days off, right? There are no days off, but you have it to the nth degree. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your questions. Thank you for this interview, and thank you for supporting us. We appreciate it very much.